Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Senior Basketball Analyst time. Today, we're doing basically a recap of Finals Game One. I like I'm sure you all were. I was extremely entertained. It was a very, very good game. It was a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect it to be that good a game because this hasn't been particularly a well played NBA season, and the playoffs have kind of lived up to that. You see a 60-game team get swept, in the conference finals. This hasn't been a very well played season. It just hasn't. But the two finals teams came to show and prove, and they did that. We saw, tremendous performances out of the stars. We saw some lesser players, bit players, if you will, play great. But the major story out of the game that just really throws a wet blanket on the whole thing is obviously the injury to Kyrie Irving, fractured patella. He's out for the rest of the playoffs. He's going to be out for a few months. We saw Blake Griffin miss an entire season due to a broken kneecap. I believe I'm sure Kyrie Irving's injury is not as severe, regardless, because I think the time frame is 3 to 4 months. Regardless, it doesn't matter really at this point in terms of the finals. As far as the finals are concerned, he's out. This is a terrible blow, and it's a terrible blow because not just is Kyrie Irving, one of the best scorers in the league. Kyrie Irving is also their only point guard. He's the only point guard on the roster for the Cleveland Cavaliers in terms of who they're suiting up. I believe that you're allowed to kind of substitute another player in, like if you have a 15-man roster. But as far as I know, there isn't another point guard even there. I don't really know why that is, other than the incompetence of Cleveland's front office, and they're obviously incompetent. How many number one picks have they had? I mean, they have multiple number one picks on the team at the same time. Still, they mess them up. Anthony Bennett, they messed that up. They traded Andrew Wiggins away for a guy who I guess is going to leave. I don't really know why Kevin Love, and from time to time, you see this. You see it happen both ways. Thabo Sefolosha gets attacked by NYPD, gets his leg broken. He's sitting on the bench in a suit, even though he's not even from the United States. He's from Switzerland. He could have gone home. He's on the bench and end of the bench in a suit. And it's not like he's been a Hawk for a long time. He was a long time Oklahoma City Thunder, before that, the Chicago Bulls. He's sitting there. Then on the flip side of Kevin Love, star player, Kelly Olynyk with the dirty play, tries to tear his arm off. He's out for the playoffs. And instead of sitting with the team, he's at home. Unless he's there and I just don't see him. But regardless, it appears to me Kevin Love isn't there. And you, like I said, you see it both ways. I've seen star players go home. I've seen star players there. And I don't really know exactly what the protocol. I'm not an NBA insider like that. I don't know what the protocol is for that. Regardless, Kyrie Irving, he's going to be there in a suit, probably on crutches, cheering his team on. But it's a huge blow. It's a huge blow. Like I said, when you have a guy that's great, you lose him. Then on top of that, you also don't have a point guard on the roster. They say that they slot Dellavedova at the point, but we all know he was removed from the point months ago. He can't physically do it. He can't dribble the ball off the court under pressure. So that means LeBron James is now your full-time point guard. You're going to see Shump handle the ball. You're going to see J.R. Smith handle the ball. Neither of those things are ideal. Shumpert is really a 2/3. He's not a ball handler in terms of running your team. J.R. Smith, obviously one of the worst decision makers in the league in terms of players that can actually play. And so it's not ideal to have him handling the ball either. So, and frankly, he's not interested in it either. He's interested in catching the ball, jacking up shots. So this is unfortunate. This is very unfortunate for Cleveland, and it probably means that's the end of them. I had counted on him limping through the series and at least being a player on the floor that knows what he's doing. And that's the problem ultimately with Cleveland. Cleveland played game one of the NBA Finals. They played 8 guys. That's it. They only played 8 people. They had 6 people score at all. Matthew Dellavedova obviously didn't score. He's terrible. James Jones is old and washed up. Didn't score. 0 of 1 for James Jones, 0 of 0 for Dellavedova. J.R. Smith, 3 of 13, 9 points. And by the way, Cleveland had this happen before. They had it happen in the conference finals where J.R. Smith, when he had the J.R. Smith game, 28 points. He hit, I think, 7 threes. J.R. Smith had 28 points, outscored Atlanta's entire bench. None of his bench mates scored. And that was what I was talking about, one of those things about how this is just, the NBA is just really deficient right now. I can't have my 60-win team, their bench getting outscored by one guy on the other team, one guy on the other team's bench. I can't have that. That's not, that shows flaws in your roster. It shows flaws in your coaching staff. And it shows flaws in the league that you were able to win 60 games. And apparently you weren't that great. And that's just what happened. I'm not saying that, obviously Atlanta, the accomplishment is there, but things like that can't happen. I can't have Pero Antic playing in rotation and not scoring. Can't have Muscala not scoring. So to get back to Cleveland, Cleveland is in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. They got a big game from Timofey Mozgov, and I'm happy for that guy because he started the game terrible. He was awful. He just couldn't deal with the speed. This was a right out the gates barn burner, and not in terms of scoring. It wasn't that the scoring was that high. It was just that it was really up and down. A lot of great defense being played. Everybody was closing out on shooters, cutting off driving lanes. It was a well-played, fast game. And Timofey Mozgov at first he looked like Mirotic out there or something. The old tricycle on the expressway. He looked like he did not have what it took to even be on the court. But second half, he settled down, did great in the pick and roll. Kyrie Irving, the whole Uncle Drew routine was going on. He was tapping the ball in traffic. He was turning the corner, making great decisions in the pick and roll, dropping dimes to Mozgov, and Mozgov was finishing with authority. He played fantastic. That's as good a game as you can get out of Mozgov, and it was great to see. And he exposed Bogut for what we really know what he is. Bogut's not very good. He never lived up to the number 1 draft pick, like a lot of number ones don't. A lot of number ones don't live up to it. Anthony Bennett being a disastrous case of that. He didn't live up to it. And he's not very good. I don't know who's voting on all defense. I don't know why they put 3 centers on the second team. I don't know why they did that. But Bogut had no business being on there. Bogut's not very good. He's one of their worst rotation players. And really, if I had my way, if David Lee was a 5, he's not. If David Lee was a 5, maybe if he was a couple inches taller, if he could play the 5 legitimately, you'd play David Lee instead of playing him. Because Bogut's just not very good. He catches the ball on the block, doesn't have a clue what to do with it. There was a play yesterday. There was a play during game 1 of the finals. He caught an alley-oop and then just threw it out. He was under the basket. He could have either finished it in the air, which Bogut is one of those players that he gets a good jump maybe 3 times he jumps because he's getting older and he's brittle. He can jump occasionally. He can occasionally get up and his fingertips are near the top of the box and finish with a dunk. In a case where he doesn't get a good jump, though, that's okay. Finish with a layup. Finish with a layup on the oop. Tristan Thompson does that all the time. Or come down with it. You're 7 feet tall, 300 pounds. Come down with it. Dunk the ball in traffic like an NBA starting center is supposed to do. He comes down with it and then kicks it out for a 3. It was so dumb, and it didn't work either. The 3 missed. They managed to get the rebound and then hit a subsequently score on that possession. But what he did was so dumb, even Van Gundy had to point out how dumb it was. He was like, why is Bogut kicking out for a 3 in that situation? He was under the basket and he wasn't even covered. He's not confident in his offensive game because he has no offensive game. The problem with him, though, is he doesn't defend well either. That's why Timofey Mozgov has 16 points on him. Timofey Mozgov can't score at all. Timmy can do one thing: catch the ball right underneath and score, or catch the ball from 8 feet wide open and score. Table stakes for an NBA player. So they got a great game out of Timofey Mozgov. The star though, the standout, everybody's talking about it. They're talking about it on Deadspin. Everybody's happy for this guy that watches basketball and knows basketball. And I'm happy for us as a program here at Senior Basketball Analyst. I'm happy for us because it's always great when you make predictions and those predictions are important. Right or wrong, it's great when your analysis is being validated by those things having importance when the games actually play out. And we called out Andre Iguodala on this program. We didn't think he was going to be featured though. We didn't think he was going to play. I didn't think that he would play. Iguodala came off the bench and played 32 minutes. I didn't see any way he'd get 30 minutes. I figured 20. I didn't think he'd get 32. And he hasn't really been playing. The world finally got to see in a final situation, yes, Andre Iguodala is one of the best players in the league. He is. He's a great basketball player. Not an all-time great. He's not LeBron. But I'll tell you like this. He's as good a player as Klay Thompson. He is. Now, he's old. So if you play him over the course of a season, he'll probably, if you play him, heavy minutes over the course of the season, he's going to get fatigued. He's going to have injury issues. He's getting older. He's in his 30s. Those things are going to happen. But as far as his skill level and what we've seen Iguodala do over the course of his career, we know he's around an 18 a game scorer. We know that he's going to be one of those high rebound guards. He's got tremendous strength on both ends of the floor. Like when you talk about strength, like I'll give you an example. Tyson Chandler holds his ground extremely well defensively, like a Marcus Camby, but they have no ability to play with that same strength on the offensive end. Just as an example. Andre Iguodala, great strength, both ends of the floor. We know he's a good passer. Andre Iguodala falls into that point forward category. He's a guy that is a small forward that can function as your primary ball handler, can bring the ball up the floor under pressure, get you into your offense. Very, very intelligent basketball player. And it was great to see him featured. It was great to see him, in spots take the game over. The dunk that he had on LeBron, where he blew past LeBron, dunked the ball. He had the other dunk he had where he's stepping through traffic. That's what I'm talking about strength. A guy that can step in between defenders and still has the strength and athleticism to finish strong at the rim with a dunk. Very, very difficult plays to make. Very, very difficult plays. And his defense, Deadspin had LeBron at 4-14 when Iguodala was guarding him. Greg here, Senior Basketball Analyst, had LeBron at 1-for-11. I don't care who's right. It doesn't matter. We saw the game. Iguodala in matchup outplayed LeBron. Now, to be specific about what that means when Iguodala was able to guard LeBron and when LeBron was guarding him. I'm not saying that he outplayed LeBron overall because that's not what happened at all, obviously. LeBron James put his stamp on the game just like we knew he was going to. 44 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. Whip-de-doo. LeBron is having, he talks about his efficiency. He's been talking about that a lot this year because his efficiency is down. Fact of the matter is, man, he's not a great shooter. He never has been. He was 2 of 8 from the arc in this game. He's not a great 3-point shooter. He's a basketball player, so he can hit threes, but he's just not. When he doesn't have space and he's not within, and when he'd either have to be in a really good offense, which he's never been in, or he has to be playing with 2 other Hall of Famers like he did in Miami. Then he has space. When he's shooting open threes, he can hit them. When he has to take threes off the dribble and stuff like that, he's not that accurate. He's just not that accurate. And that's why his 3-point percentage is so down. But LeBron, this is the standard that he's trying to play to. This is a Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan standard. And his job this year is really in the Wilt Chamberlain category, because what he has to do is he has to, or Bill Russell, I could compare it to that too, where you're coaching the team and star player of the team. And with a Wilt Chamberlain type game, you have to score all the points, get all the rebounds, do all the playmaking and facilitating. You know, we all know the famous stat: Wilt Chamberlain averaged, led the league in assists one year at the center position. You know, that's what LeBron James has to do for this team. He has to be their best player, coach the team, and he cannot afford to allow Andre Iguodala to outplay him in any situation. And that's the tall order that we're dealing with here. This is not, this isn't a bash LeBron type thing. This is not a let's be unfair to LeBron BS. That's not what this is about. Because LeBron was obviously the best player in the building. Not even close. LeBron outplayed Steph Curry, was better than Steph Curry and Klay Thompson combined. And they played good games. He was better than both of them. But that's what he has to do. This is what he has to do. Any time Andre Iguodala can go out and hold LeBron to a poor field goal shooting percentage against him, if he plays 30 minutes, that will probably be the key to any game. He can probably seal the win for Golden State because they have a real team. Golden State, what do I mean by real team? Golden State, all of their starters in double figures except Bogut, and we already talked about Bogut. He's just not very good. But they got 5 from Festus Ezeli, 4 from Sean Livingston, 2 from Leandro Barbosa, and 15 from Iguodala, because this is a real team. David Lee does not play on this team. Not even in rotation, out of rotation. David Lee's a pretty good player out of rotation. They have James McAdoo on the team, and then Justin Holiday, who both have NBA pedigree in terms of family members that played in the NBA. Those are the last guys on the team. Justin Holiday, I watched Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday can play. Not on this team, doesn't play. This is the difference, though, when you look at a front office that has put together a real roster, and you look at Cleveland, and that's a mix and a mixture of garbage. It really is. It's just pieces of it's just nonsense. It's nonsense. And to LeBron's credit, mostly, he's gotten Shump to buy in, and he's gotten J.R. Smith to buy in. Those guys have dragged them through this playoff run, because Kyrie Irving, unfortunately, his body is not allowing him to play. Kevin Love was taken out by Kelly Olynyk's dirty nonsense, pulling his arm. So they're left really with LeBron and spare parts from New York. That's what they're left with. Timofey Mozgov, spare part. Just a dude. Here's Timofey Mozgov. Enjoy. Like, this is, and I can talk about another story from Golden State when you talk about a roster. And this, I wish we hadn't missed. This is one we did miss. Didn't know Maurice Space was going to play. Now, one of my analysts checked, and he didn't see anything. Even in hindsight, he was like, I don't see anything about Space playing. Space just, his comment was, actually, it was our director, Jonathan. He said, Space just showed up and decided to play. So if Maurice Space, by the way, is exactly what you saw. It's a Kevin Willis style black hole where you dump it into the post. You're not going to ever see it again. It's going up. So if you want it, you better go rebound it, or pull it out the net. In this case, Maurice Space, 8 points in 9 minutes. That's what you're going to get. And Maurice Space, he can pick and pop out to 18. He can post up too as well. He can post up mid post to the low block. Maurice Space, man, he's a center. He's a center. He's a good, really good backup center. Come out, get buckets, go sit down. Don't play him too many minutes because he has conditioning problems. Don't play him too many minutes. They played him 9 minutes. Perfect. get 8 points out of him in 9 minutes. He get a few rebounds, foul a couple dudes, and he go sit down. Again, building a roster. And Memphis got rid of him inexplicably. The great John Hollinger. That's a nice roster you built, dude. I don't think he's involved with the organization anymore, but I remember when they hired him from ESPN, and this was supposed to be some great, brilliant move. We talked about it on a previous episode. Doug Collins put the stat up. The entire Zebo, Marc Gasol era, they have shot horribly from the three-point line in Memphis, and they never corrected from a roster perspective. And even worse, when they do have shooters, they end up off the team. OJ Mayo, off the team. What did they even get for him? Quincy Pondexter, off the team. What did they get for him? The only shooter they've had consistently on their team is their point guard, Mike Conley. Year after year after year after year, they never corrected. Year after year, giving away players. Rudy Gay, gave him away. OJ Mayo, gave him away. Maurice Space, gave him away. Guess what? You had those guys, probably beat Golden State. Probably beat them. Golden State didn't have nothing coming for you first 3 games. They looked dead in the water. But you don't have no roster. You don't have no roster. Mike Conley's face is broken. His eye is literally bleeding. He threw it away. But to get back on target and get back to this game, we saw Steph Curry doing what he's done all season, playing a very nice, efficient game, shooting 50% from the field, 26 points, 8 assists. We saw our guy Uncle Drew, in his finals game of this year. We had a first and only finals game of his career. We saw Uncle Drew, 23 points, 10 to 22 from the field, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Kyrie Irving came to play. And we talked about this, and I was glad Jeff Van Gundy brought it up during the broadcast. Kyrie Irving is as good as Steph Curry. Now, that's not the popular thing to say because Steph Curry is the reigning MVP. And we act like just because somebody puts a label on something that changes the player's abilities. Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry are very similar in terms of the production they bring to the table. Neither one of them, they're both shoot first point guards that can play off the ball as well as on the ball. They're both obviously great shooters, Steph Curry being the greatest, but Kyrie Irving, we know the jump shot. We know that he's got a great jump shot. Kyrie Irving has a 50-point game this year. So if you're from Kyrie Irving's perspective, he came into this game out to prove a point, dragging his leg around and playing Steph Curry basically even. He had the 2 monster blocks on Steph Curry when he was trying to drive around him. Kyrie Irving really came to play. And that's what makes what happened to him, so depressing from a sports point of view. This guy went out there with the fortitude and all of that to play through an injury. And this is what happens when you're playing through injuries. And I get so tired of reading speculation about how hurt is this guy. And most of these guys, most of them, they do this because they love it, and they do it because they want to win and they want to perform and play well. But Kyrie Irving's not going to miss the game if he can drag his leg out there. And he did. He dragged his leg out there. And you know what happened? He broke it. So, Kyrie Irving basically goes in line with the tradition of professional athletics. If you can play, you strap it up and try to play. And a lot of times you end up leaving pieces of yourself out there. And, he's not gonna get to play anymore, and it's a shame because he played Steph Curry to a standstill, the reigning MVP. But that's why you have a roster. See, Steph Curry understands that he doesn't have to play outside of himself. He doesn't have to try to turn things into. I remember a game earlier this season. Houston was playing Golden State. Steph Curry took it as a challenge. He sees Patrick Beverley. Steph Curry has pride. We all know the NBA pedigree. He's named after his father, Wardell Curry. We know that. But you see You watch him playing, you see what he's doing. Because I don't care about the look on his face. I see what he's doing. He started off the first maybe 6 minutes of the first quarter trying to take Patrick Beverley off the dribble and beat him one-on-one. Stupid idea. Nobody should do that. And I'm not saying because you can't ever score on Patrick Beverley. I'm just saying it's a waste of your energy. You have to try too hard to do that. He's gonna have you exhausted if you try to do that all game long, because he's a straight up animal out there. He's an attack dog. And Steph Curry I think he missed his first 4 or 5 field goal attempts trying to go one-on-one. And you know what he did? He just said, "Why am I doing?" He just stopped. Golden State runs plays. They play good defense. They have great transition offense, both off made and missed baskets. Their secondary break is the best secondary break in the league. They have good passers all over the court. We see the heralded passing of Draymond Green. We just talked about Andre Iguodala. These are backup forwards. or this is the starting power forward and your backup small forward. I mean, their guard, we know the passing of the guard play at the guard position. They bring Sean Livingston off the bench. Sean Livingston's a pretty solid player. So he doesn't have to go and doesn't have to play like LeBron. Like LeBron has to catch and then decide how he's going to create, right? Because Cleveland doesn't run plays. They don't have an offense. Golden State has an offense. Golden State will run 3 single doubles in the same possession. And a lot of times I think some of it is just decoy stuff. It's just to get movement and get action and make the defense have to shift and react. But and by the way, this is another thing that came up that I was glad to see that Shumpert lived up to what we expected. Shumpert did not get beat once on a single double. Not once. They were running Steph Curry back and forth all across that baseline. Klay Thompson back and forth across that baseline. And what did Klay Thompson do? Just as I said, he had 21 points, 14 field goal attempts. He was 5 of 14 from the field. That's and I mean, that's what I expect. Now, Klay Thompson, obviously a really good player, complete guy. He came out, he got him 6 boards, stealing a couple blocks. Klay Thompson always comes to play. But it's not giving up good field goal percentages. It's making guys work. And I was like, he's going to have a very difficult time with Shumpert. I knew, because of the difficult time he had with Tony Allen. Tony Allen had the dude completely erased. So I was like, Tony Allen is a much better defender than Shumpert. But it's a similar style. And Shumpert was ready. He was prepared. He was seeing those screens before they were happening and wasn't allowing himself to be screened. As soon as he feels that screen behind him on his hip, he rolls off of it. He was playing. It was such technically sound defense. So these were some of the things that I saw that just were really impressive. And I was really happy to see, Tristan Thompson, same old thing, 15 rebounds. Same old thing. Tristan Thompson is just running around like a crazy person, getting every board that he nailed down, diving for loose balls, killing himself, breaking his back. It's just great to see. It was great to see Harrison Barnes, Jermaine made the point, during the game. He said, man, Harrison Barnes doesn't miss them corner threes anymore. I'm going to tell you like this. They don't, as a team, miss corner threes. And from the left corner, so your right hand is not against the backboard. The backboard would be here. Your right hand is here. From that left corner, Steph Curry, we've seen the graphics. He doesn't miss. They had so many O's on there on the shot chart that you couldn't even see them all. He doesn't miss from there. Matt Barnes doesn't miss from there either. Really, I would be willing to bet, I'm not going to bother looking it up, but I'd be willing to bet Matt Barnes is over 60% from that spot. Matt Barnes is not missing from there. I keep calling him Matt Barnes. I'm sorry, Harrison Barnes. So Harrison Barnes, Draymond Green. Remember what we said about Draymond Green? Draymond Green played a really good game, but he fouls a lot. 4 of 13 from the field. And this is what we talk about too, by the way, about when I say who's the most overrated. Because I think I made a point. that Goon Green has really become the most overrated player in the league. It's like it's kind of like it's just cool to talk about him right now, right? I really like Draymond Green. I liked Draymond Green when nobody cared about him, when he was a rookie. I like Draymond Green. I like players that play that way, but let's not overrate the guy. The guy, he's a really good player. Just leave it at that. That's all you have to do. You just call him a really good basketball player. That's all you have to say. He's a guy that has multifaceted, plays tough defense, will, bleed and sweat and die for the team, all of that. Good. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what we expect. But you know what he can also do? Go out there against Tristan Thompson and, shoot 30%. That's the kind of player he is. That dunk, by the way, he had a dunk, man, during game one. And it wasn't that the dunk was a spectacular play. It was a wide open, straight line drive to the basket. But he flushed it with authority, and he starts screaming, and the crowd is going berserk. And he's that kind of dude. And that's what we mean by energy player too. That's what a real energy player does. A guy that actually is doing things from an effort perspective that are actually pumping the team up and actually helping, not just running around, not being who's that guy? Man, I'm trying to think of the guy's name that Tristan Thompson hates. Tyler Hansbrough, a bum like that, some clown. It's not about just running around flailing your arms and having a goofy look on your face now, your mouth hanging open. It's about doing things that are, like I said, effort-based, that actually help the team and actually get people high. Joakim Noah is that for the Bulls. That's energy player. Like Gerald Wallace. That was an energy player. Dennis Rodman, etc. That's energy player. So Draymond Green, one of the best energy players in the league. I hope he gets a max deal. I hope he gets his money because he's good and he's worth it. But he's not a great player. People need to stop talking about him like that. Like, stop talking about him like he's an upper echelon guy. He's not. He's not, and that's silly. There's plenty of, two-way players that aren't going to go 4 of 13, is my point. Especially considering, that's 4 of 13 when nobody's focused on him. Nobody comes out in the scouting report and says, let's stop Draymond Green from scoring. And that's also key. That's one of the things that we're going to be talking about a lot this summer once the finals are over. That's one of the topics we're going to address. Guys that are on the scouting report and not on the scouting report. It's like kind of like the Jeremy Lin thing. If you're wondering why Jeremy Lin can't play anymore, it's because for that 2 weeks that he looked like he could play, he wasn't on the scouting report. Once a guy's on the scouting report, now I can see it's the reason Niko Mirotic looked like garbage in the playoffs. Now, okay, fine, you're in rotation for the playoffs. Now we'll put you on the scouting report, and now we'll decide how we're going to deal with you. If you're not on the scouting report, you throw a guy in the game. Pay attention to these guys that come out of nowhere and hit a bunch of shots. No one's near them. No one's near them, and it's by design. In the NBA, that's how they play defense. In the NBA, when a guy is just a dude, you just leave him open. You leave him open because you're like, good, shoot it. We think you're going to shoot. We think that even wide open, you're going to shoot around 40%. We'll take it. Shoot it. That's the gamble that is taken in the NBA. And a lot of it is just a basketball bravado thing anyway. When you playing in pickup games, some dude that nobody respects, man, he catch the ball, everybody looks at him, just wave him off, man. Yeah, go ahead and take that, man. You know what? Keep shooting. He might hit one and go, yeah, I bet you won't hit the next one. Like, there's that element of it too. But mainly it's that you're just not on a scout report. And that is the gamble and the calculation that is taken by NBA coaching staffs. Again, to get back to Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, Splash Brothers, both of them did what I expected them to do. Steph Curry, efficient scoring game, didn't play any defense. Uncle Drew was just dribbling circles around him, and that's how it goes. And then they just took him off of him. They just had someone else guard him. But Klay played a pretty solid, complete game. He didn't let Shump get off, and Shump, they can't allow that. The thing that's really going to probably, and I thought that Kyrie Irving was going to be able to play the whole series. It turns out I guess it was wishful thinking or something. But I thought Cleveland in 6. This changes everything, and the real reason, again, to be specific, it isn't just what you lose with Kyrie Irving being out. It's the fact that there's nobody to replace him. They literally, when I'm looking at the box score on ESPN, Kyrie Irving is the only player listed as a point guard. They're not even calling someone else a point guard on this team. LeBron James, 46 minutes. Like, this is an overtime game, but still, that's only 5 minutes. So even if you play the whole overtime, it's 5 extra minutes. LeBron James, 46 minutes. Timofey Mozgov, 33. Tristan Thompson, 47. Kyrie Irving, 44. By the way, guy coming off injury, don't play him 44 minutes. That's a coaching mistake. But that's what happens when your head coach is on the court. He misses all kinds of important things like that. The nuances completely blow past him. Tyronn Lue, I want Tyronn Lue to get a head coaching job. Alvin Gentry already has his job in his back pocket. Tyronn Lue deserves a shot. He deserves a shot because I'll tell you like this. We all know Blatt is not coaching the team. And LeBron can't do it by himself because he's on the court. So somebody is I'll tell you, hey, if nothing else, somebody's got to keep Blatt from messing the game up by calling a dumb timeout or something like that when you don't have any left and getting a technical foul. Somebody's doing that. It's been reported that it's Tyronn Lue and that the players go to him. Tyronn Lue deserves a head coaching job. Give it to him. Give him a shot. If he's like Brian Shaw and he flames out, then fire him. You gave Blatt a shot. Like, this is the funny thing about the NBA. What did David Blatt do to earn a shot in the NBA? Nothing. And then he proves it. He proves it by being completely unqualified and not up to the task. Tyronn Lue played in the NBA. He's sitting there coaching the team now. He's in the finals. Give him a shot. Hey, fire Blatt and promote him. Do that. They could just do that. But, of course, things never work the way they're supposed to, so they're not going to do that. But to finish up, Iman Shumpert, 34 minutes. James Jones, 17 minutes of just dead air. 0 points, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 rebound. So he was, and 4 fouls. That's really the key, by the way, to what tells me that James Jones really is not up to the task in this series. He couldn't stay on the floor. He was in foul trouble, even though he only played 17 minutes. A perimeter player having 4 fouls in 17 minutes, that doesn't even make sense. And then J.R. Smith with 34 minutes. That's too many minutes. But that's too many minutes because the rotation is so short. So this is what Cleveland has to do if they're going to have a shot. And I know I've talked a lot about Cleveland, but really Golden State, other than talking about Iguodala's great game and talking a little bit about Maurice Spates, everything else was business as usual. It's a great team with a bunch of very good players all playing very good basketball. So there's not a whole lot to talk about there. Cleveland is just much more interesting. If Cleveland is going to win this series, Cleveland is going to have to lengthen the rotation. Obviously, Dellavedova is going to play. He's a guy that can't give you anything. He's got to just not mess the game up. It would be nice if he could take some of the ball handling responsibilities off of LeBron James since he's supposed to be a point guard. He's not. He's listed as a shooting guard, even though he has no shooting guard skills either. But somebody has to handle the ball and give LeBron breaks while he's on the court. Because we know LeBron can't rest really and come out. But he has to be able to rest on some offensive possessions so he can continue to do all the things he has to do. If nothing else, just to kind of survey the court and see what's going on, because he's also coaching the team. So somebody has to take some of that pressure off of him. And like Joe Harris, I don't know who that guy is. So it isn't going to be Joe Harris. Mike Miller shouldn't really be on the roster. He can't play anymore. Mike Miller hasn't been able to play for about 5 years. Was once a good player, but he can't play anymore. He's just broken down. I think that Shawn Marion has to play. And I think we will see Shawn Marion. I can't play everybody 40 minutes every game. You're not going to win a final series that way. That's just not going to – I shouldn't say you're not going to win it that way. You're not going to win it that way when it's these guys playing 40 minutes. Like, if I was going to play Durant and Westbrook 40 minutes every game, I could get away with that. I'm not going to play – I don't want to play LeBron that many minutes because he is getting old and he goes to finals every year. So he has long seasons, hard miles on his legs. I definitely don't want to play a player like Shumpert more than 34 minutes, and he played 34. I don't want to play him more than that. I don't want to play J.R. Smith more than that. Playing Tristan Thompson 47 minutes is unfair. It's unfair. If Brendan Haywood cannot give me 5 minutes, and if Kendrick Perkins cannot give me 5 minutes, they shouldn't be on the roster. I know Perkins can give me 5 minutes. He can give me 10. Give me 10 minutes so Tristan can rest and be at 100%. It's not that Tristan can't play 47 minutes, but he'll be more effective and have more energy if he's getting regular rest. Come out, have a sip of water, just let yourself calm down a little bit, get your win back, and then run back out there and go back to being a crazy person. I think they got caught up in trying to win that game because it was a winnable game on the road. It was game one, but the rotation has to lengthen. And finally, I'll say this about when you're playing these kind of minutes. You have to think about who you're playing against. Golden State did not have a single player crack 40 minutes. I'm sorry, Steph Curry did, 43. Barnes, 39, Draymond, 39, Klay Thompson, 39. So there's a rotation here. To the credit of Steve Kerr, Alvin Gentry, and Ron Adams, there's a rotation in place here. You see, you can see it. You can see it when you're watching the game, but the statistics, what the box score does for you, all the box score tells you is if you watch the game, it validates what you saw. If you didn't watch the game, the box score doesn't really tell you much anything. But if you watch the game, box score validates it. We saw good rotation. We saw very, very sound rotation from Golden State Warriors. They had, like I said, Harrison Barnes, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they knew exactly how many minutes they want to play him. I think it was probably an error. Like Steph Curry was probably at the free throw line or something and ended up playing a few extra minutes. They probably didn't want to play in those intervals. They probably didn't want to play him. And keep in mind, they played 5 minutes of overtime. So really what that really is 34 minutes for those guys, for those 39-minute players. So you think about that. You think about what you're playing against. You're playing against a very good team with a deep rotation that plays all their guys. They're all fresh. When Andre Iguodala was hounding LeBron, Andre Iguodala was fresh. LeBron's been dragging 270 pounds back and forth up the court for the last 40 minutes. Those things are important. And that is actually Golden State's biggest advantage over Cleveland. And ultimately, it's going to be why they're probably going to win the series, because Golden State just has a real roster. And Cleveland, after you get past those top four guys, you're at like Timofey Mozgov, and then it just turns to garbage from there. And, you know, that's what happens when Kevin Love goes down. That's what happens when Kyrie Irving goes down. And that's what you're left with. So I'll close with this. The Golden State coaching staff, whether it's Steve Kerr doing it or it's Gentry or Ron Adams or whoever, they did a very, very nice job as usual. Excellent, brilliant, bringing out the trump card at the last minute, Andre Iguodala, and I would add this for Steve Kerr. You know, Andre Iguodala made a joke. I think this was a couple months ago, but he made a joke about, not a couple months ago. Actually, I think it was actually a couple weeks ago. But regardless, he made a joke about Steve Kerr about, going to the finals is keeping me from having to like go upside his head or something like that for benching me. You know, Andre Iguodala, has this reputation because he's a guy that doesn't, he keeps his, cards very close to the vest. Even when he is interviewed, he says a lot of canned responses, about everything for the team and this sort of thing. A professional athlete of Andre Iguodala's caliber has an ego. He has pride, and he didn't want to be benched. Nobody does. He didn't want to be benched. And Harrison Barnes actually isn't better than him either. He's not better than him. But it was key. The reason it was such a good move is because it's allowed Harrison Barnes to develop and blossom into the player he is now. Harrison Barnes, pretty good player. Helpless, by the way, on the block against LeBron. Helpless. I don't think LeBron missed against him. But he's not ready for that. He's just not ready for that. I don't know that he ever will because he's not a defender like that. But he right now he's just not ready. But now Harrison Barnes is a lot better, and Iguodala is no worse a player. And it's a testament to his character that he's able to stay ready and has worked on his three ball, which is something that helps this team a lot in the role he's been slotted in. And congratulations to Steve Kerr for recognizing how to deal with a player and make sure a player, whatever combination it is, because Iguodala is easier to deal with than most players of his caliber, but whatever combination it is, Iguodala's malleability and cooperation and Steve Kerr's respect for protocol. And what I mean by that is the opposite is where Brian Shaw benches Andre Miller and doesn't talk to him. And then he's yanking his best player, Kenneth Faried, in and out of the lineup, not talking to him, lose the locker room. That is not how you function in the NBA as a coach. That is not NBA protocol. Brian Shaw very well knows that. If coaches that treated him that way, he didn't like them either. That's how you lose locker rooms, when you are not talking and communicating with the players. It sounded like Kerr had the appropriate conversation with Andre Iguodala before he did that. And I want to give him a lot of credit for that, because now he's able to break glass in case of LeBron emergency. Oh, man, LeBron got to the finals somehow with Cleveland. He breaks that emergency glass, out pops Andre Iguodala, get a game 1 victory. And that is some NBA coaching, and that he deserves credit for. So I'll close it with that. I'm looking forward to game 2. I'm sure you all are. That they're going to tip off tomorrow evening, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's Senior Basketball Analyst. That's my recap of game 1, and that's it.